Well, hey, welcome everybody.
Howdy.
How's it going?
It's good.
It's good. Awesome.
I'm the only one that can answer you.
Thanks for joining us for these live stream reviews. We have many live stream reviews to get to, and we always enjoy this because we get to hear from churches all around the country, all around the world. And I don't know. I didn't even count how many we have, but we're going to get through as many as we can. Probably more than we can get through today.
There's a lot.
And if you want to get your live stream reviewed, people are always asking how to do that. This is something that we do for our students. So you need to go and get access to our courses, and that also gets you access to live stream reviews, as well as one-on-one support with us, where you can schedule a call with us anytime, and we'll walk you through any of the problems that you're facing at your church. And we are fully aware that problems just come up, and sometimes you just get stumped. Even we get stumped sometimes.
It does happen. It
does happen, but getting that extra person in the mix, usually they're like, oh, it's just this. Sweet. Glad I worked the last 3 hours on that. All right, so let's go ahead and just jump into this first one. This is Lanny Mullins that sent this to us from Highland Church of Christ. He said he just set up his live stream mixer and monitors in an isolated room, and he's looking for a critique and suggestions. So it sounds like you're doing your live stream mix completely separate now. So let's take a listen and see what we got. Well, it sounds really good. Way to go. I was trying to listen for the detail. I mean, there's always things that you could do to make it sound better. I do the same thing to ours. There's always something you can do. So let's have to listen really close to figure out what needs to happen here. Even if you just left it at that. That's a great mix. So really, great job. If I'm going to get nitpicky, I would say the lead vocal, he was sounding a little bit thick, like he could be thinned out just a little bit, a little heavy in those low mids. So I don't know if that's the position of your low cut filter. I would set that around 180 hertz. If that's where it is, then you may just want to use one of the tricks I like to use with the vocal still sounds too thick in the mix is I'll put a low shelving filter at about 800 hertz. You could put it even a little lower than that if you want to, maybe around 600 or 700 hertz. And then you just start going down until it thins them out. I mean, we're talking like half dB, 1 dB, maybe up to 2 dB is all you're going to do to make that adjustment. And you'll notice that it really helps them to cut through more because they're not so heavy in those low mids. So I would do that on the lead vocal. The piano was maybe just a little hot in the mix.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I was trying to determine if it just needed some more compression or if it was just overall too loud. I think it was just overall too loud. I think compression was okay on that. I was liking there was ambience there. Like it didn't sound like a dry mix. It sounded good. Preference for me, though, is I would have a little bit more reverb in this mix, but that could just be preference. I don't think it sounded bad at all. If you're going for more of on the dry side, then that sounded great. Yeah, that's all I got. What do you think, Dylan?
I was going to say the piano and the ambience were the things I noticed audio-wise, so funny we both saw that. And then if we're talking about visuals, the only thing that's really sticking out to me is that it's looking really warm, so I would just adjust your white balance, cool that down a little bit, and I think it'd make it look cleaner and just more intentional overall. There are some areas of the shots that are overexposed, but that looks like a camera limitation. Maybe you could try adjusting the exposure, but it might get a little bit too dark overall if you do that. So maybe play with that. If you can adjust contrast in your switcher or something, that might help too. But it looks good. I like what you got going on. Awesome. Great work. I want to say hi to Rachel and Jerry and Wes and Sun City Bob and from Eagle, Idaho. They're awesome. Thanks, y'all, so much for joining us. And if you haven't jumped in on the comments yet, go ahead and let us know where you're tuning in from. We would love to know. And we'll just go ahead and jump into this next one, which is from, let's see here. We got from Sherry Abraham in Iglesia,
I would probably say that all wrong. It's in a different language, so I'm not even going to try. You want to take a stab at it, Dylan?
No, I'm good.
No, okay. They want better sound from their PA. What are their comments on the live stream of video? And obviously, I mean, we're not in the room, so it's hard to tell you what needs to be fixed on the PA without being in the room. But we'll listen to your live stream and see if we can give you some tips that way. All right. I think that we're dealing with tracks here. Do you think I'm right on that, Dylan? I'm looking for, let's see, I see an electric guitar, or is that a bass? That's an electric guitar, an acoustic.
Oh, it's bass right there.
It's a bass. I was trying to determine, like the instrumental side of things sounded very polished and professional. So I was like, is that track or is that actual musicians? Instrumental mix is great. It's very full. It's very big. It's covering all the frequency spectrum, and then the vocals are just getting swallowed up by it is the problem with this mix. And something I like to tell our students is that the vocal, especially the lead vocal, is the most important part of your mix. That's the thing that you should shoot to get right every Sunday if you just had to focus on one thing, because that's what people are following along with. The whole purpose that we're here is to lead people in worship. So if they can't hear the lead vocal, like even if the rest of your mix sounds completely awesome, you mess the whole thing up. And that's kind of what's going on here. The rest of the mix sounds awesome, and then the lead vocal is getting swallowed up by the rest of the mix. And it's just really a EQ and a volume problem here. The vocal needs some EQ on it. It's a little bit too thick to cut through the mix. There's not enough clarity there. And when you think of something not being clear enough, you think, oh, I need to go boost the high frequencies. But that's actually not the case. You actually need to go cut out some low frequencies so that those high frequencies that are already there have room to shine. And so put a low cut filter on that lead vocal, set it to around 180 hertz, and that's probably going to make a big difference in itself. And if you feel that it still needs to be thinned out afterwards, you can do what I told the previous stream and put a low shelving filter at around 800 hertz and begin to just carve out those low mids until she sounds nice and clean, but still warm. Now, some people will, whenever they start doing this, they will cut too much of the low end out, and then it starts to sound too thin. So what you're going for is, I want a vocal that sounds warm and clear all at the same time. And you can use that low shelving filter to achieve that. And small adjustments make a big difference. Once you do that on your vocals, you're going to notice that it's a lot easier to get them to the front of the mix. Now, likely, you probably need to check your compression on your vocals as well, because she kind of came out of the front of the mix there for a second and then went back in, and that shows me that that tells me that there's too much dynamic range in this vocal. So set a compressor on all of your vocals, and you're going to set the ratio to about 4:1. And then you're going to adjust your threshold until the compressor, there's a little meter on the compressor screen that's called a gain reduction meter, and it's showing you how much compression is being added. And you want to set that threshold until, on average, you're hitting about -6 dB on that gain reduction meter. And then there's a gain control on your compressor as well. You'll do that like +4 dB to make up the gain that you're pushing down, and that will give you some extra volume to get your lead vocals at the top of that mix. And if you're maxing out volume on the vocals and they're still not there, then you may just need to bring your instrumental mix down so that you have more room for your vocal to come out to the front. That's the main thing on this mix. You just need to get your vocals to the front, and it's going to make a huge difference. What do you think, Dylan?
Sweet. I agree with those audio critiques. And then visually, I think you got your cameras dialed in really well. I don't really have any critiques. I think the white balance looks good. Exposure looks good. I only see that you're using 2 cameras throughout the service, or throughout the worship service. I think I just scrubbed and saw that one in the back. I was wondering if that one ever came in. Maybe it'll show it. There it is. All right, I got a piano shot going on. Yeah, I like it. The match between all your cameras looks good, so great job with that.
Awesome, great work. Thanks for joining us from Canada and Africa and Sarasota. It's great to have you guys. Forgot to mention, if you have some input as we listen to these, feel free to drop that in the comments. We can all work at this together. Just be constructive in your criticism. Let's not put each other down as some commenters do on the YouTubes.
No.
We're here to help each other. All right, let's move along. This is from Daniel with Redemption Church. He'd just love an honest opinion on things that we can do better to improve in the next season. They're using a Behringer Wing, which is currently my favorite mixer. There's a lot of great mixers out there, though. But anyway, go ahead. All right. Now, one thing I noticed, just because of the visual, I actually was able to see your main speakers at the top in that wide shot. And it looks like they're not pointing correctly. And so I just wanted to point that out, so maybe you could fix that. Those, you're using line array speakers, and they have a very narrow vertical spread, usually like 10 to 15 degrees. And it looks like they're pointing straight at the back wall. And so all of your clear sound is going to hit the back wall instead of going to where it needs to go to the people. So it looks like that whole cluster on both sides needs to be angled down towards the congregation. You're going to get a lot better sound in the room. So just something for you to look at in that regard. As far as the sound goes, you have a good mix going on here, but there's some weird EQ that's kind of messing up the whole thing. And it's hard for me to distinguish, is it coming from your channel EQ, or do you have EQ on the live stream bus, or what's going on here? Which, by the way, you really shouldn't have EQ on the live stream bus itself. So if you do have EQ there, you can just go ahead and level that out so you have a more level response. But it sounds to me, if I were to guess, and it's hard to know without being there, but if I were to guess what's going on here, is that you're applying EQ to the individual channels to make it sound better in the room. And when you do that, it's making it sound bad on the live stream, because in the room you have all these kind of issues that you're trying to fix with sound bouncing around. The room has its own response to sound, and so you have to use EQ to fix those problems. But the problem is when you put the fixes on the individual channels, you create a live stream problem. And so the workaround here is to instead EQ your room, so that EQ goes on your main mix before it goes out of the speakers. And so you're coloring the sound. You're running it through a filter to make it sound good for the room, but yet it leaves your live stream untouched because your live stream doesn't need that same filter because we're not hearing it in that same room. So since you are one of our students, I want you to go into the course, and I want you to go through the Room EQ Made Simple course. And this is going to take you a while, so I would set aside an entire day. I always tell people on a Saturday, but if you can do it earlier in the week, that might be better in case you have to come back the next day and do it again. Because the first time you do this, it's really, it'll challenge you a little bit. It's an easy, simple process, and we've made it simple in the course, but you're also training your ear all at the same time to figure out how to do this. And you probably have to go through it several times, is why it takes so much time. But it's going to be worth it. And then once you do that, you're going to go and level all the EQ on your individual channels and rebuild those EQs. And what you're going to find is you're not applying as much EQ as you used to now that your room is EQ'd. For example, on our vocals here at our church, when the room's EQ'd properly, really all we're doing is putting a low-cut filter on them. And then we may be carving out one specific EQ range on specific vocals, like Dylan's wife sings, and she is a little harsh in, I think it's the 2 to 3 kilohertz range, and so we kind of just carve out a little bit of that area to take the harshness out of her vocal. Whereas my wife also sings, but her voice comes over as too thick in this room, and so we have to carve out those low frequencies out of her voice so that it can shine. And so each vocal might need its own special touch, but there's very little EQ actually going on individual channels once you have your room EQ'd correctly. And that'll make it sound good in both the room and the live stream. So that's my guess, is that this live stream is sounding kind of funny because of these EQ problems. And if you go EQ your room and just kind of start over with EQ, go with a fresh start, you're going to fix those problems. What do you think, Dylan?
Visually, there's just one thing I want to recommend you, and that's getting those key lighting fixtures a little more balanced for the cameras. So if you look at the wide shots, let's see if I can go back to one. We see how much brighter they are compared to the rest of the stage. So my recommendation would be to drop the lighting, if you're able to fade those, I'm assuming you are, drop the lighting on your two front vocalists there so that it is a little bit closer to the people in the back. The people in the back can be darker. I think that's a good amount of like lighting depth to have, but they're just so much more bright that the camera cannot differentiate the two different luminosities. So like I said, I would recommend dropping the lighting because if you just drop the exposure on your camera, everything else is going to be really dark. And then you might also want to drop the brightness on your LED wall too, because it's kind of sticking out a lot more than anything else on the stage. I just find that with LED walls, it's really tempting to just run them at a really high brightness, especially if you've come from having a projector. You're like, whoa, look at all this brightness that we have to work with. But it just, it's a little distracting to the people in person if there's just a huge bright display on stage, and then it's also really hard to get right on the live stream. I think we have ours at like 50% or even a little bit lower than that. Like it really does not need that much unless your room is just insanely bright ambience-wise. So do that, drop your key lighting exposure, and then you might need to adjust your cameras as well, but adjust them for those front vocalists to make their skin tones look good, and then everything else should kind of fall into place.
So would you say setting the brightness for your LED wall, like the strategy would be to turn on your front lighting the way that you're going to have it, turn on the camera, and then make it to where the LED screen kind of fits in with the scene, right?
Yeah. Preferably you don't really want it to be brighter than your main subject, which would be like your pastor or the people on stage. It is a little bit brighter in our worship scenario because we're dropping the key lighting for worship because we want it to be dimmer. We don't want us to be, at 100% brightness up here on stage. So the LED wall is a little bit brighter than us during worship, which I'm fine with, but during the message, when Cade's up here preaching, the LED wall is dimmer than he is. Like, I don't want it shining more than he is up here on stage, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because the LED wall is not the main subject of what's going on, right? It's the person who's singing or the person who's preaching, so... But when the LED wall is way brighter, then it becomes the subject and the focus of everybody in the room. I've actually been to a church where they had it at 100% brightness, and it was like looking into the sun because everything else was so much dimmer than that. It's like, wow. I almost can't look on the stage because it's like, it's so bright.
Now, if you have a projector, you're probably never going to have that problem because they just don't get that bright.
They just don't.
Cool.
All right. Did you see on the comments that somebody wanted your mic to be a little bit louder? Did you turn that up already?
I can do it right here, Paul. There we go.
All right. Well, welcome from Alabama and Germany and Guam. Great to have you guys. Let's go ahead and jump into this next one, which is from Matt at GBC Hope. I don't know why that acronym was so hard to get out. GBC.
GBC.
Let's see. Their live stream's a struggle. Part of he believes that it's probably because of the difficulties that they have in the room because it's very hard to mix. There are two main issues, being stage noise and speaker coverage. Right now we have floor, 4 wedges, and a 6-piece band. Often includes a grand piano, an acoustic drum kit, synth amp. Wow, that's a lot of noise going on. And a bass amp. Oh, man, I remember those days. I'm looking into what we could do to switch to in-ear monitors, but our speaker coverage then becomes a problem right now probably. And, man, you gave us a lot of details. Thank you for giving that. But we kind of get the gist of what's going on here. You have a lot of noise on the stage, and it's kind of ruining your live stream. But let's take a listen and see what we got going on.
Praise when surrounded, 'cause praise is the water my enemies drown in. As long as I'm breathing, I've got a reason to praise the Lord, oh my soul.
Lead vocal sounds good, so good job with that. Let's see, I'm trying to, I don't know if necessarily the problems going on here are because of all the room noise that you have. Maybe that's what's making it hard to distinguish what actually needs to happen with each individual channels, because I imagine you're not really sending much through the PA with that much stage noise going on. So this is probably one of those rare situations where I would recommend that you put on a pair of headphones and work on these individual channels so that they at least sound good in the live stream, even though you may not put much of it in the actual main mix. And the reason for that is because you're not getting enough direct sound in your room to be able to determine what EQ needs to happen on a channel, what compression needs to happen on a channel. But if you put on a pair of headphones, it'll help you distinguish what needs to happen here. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done with each individual channel in here. Like I was just kind of listening to your drums, and they need EQ and they need compression. Like you kind of need to go through the whole. There's a whole lesson in the course for drums. You need to go through that for each individual drum mic. Same thing for the piano. It's just you're not getting a great sound from the piano, and that could be start by moving your mic around and finding a better mic placement, and then start adding EQ and things like that to make it sound even better. And it's tough to get a grand piano to sound great because you're also dealing with did it get tuned recently? Is it tuned properly? And all those kinds of things as well. Which, by the way, with the drums, that's something that we always get your sound great at the source before you start adding EQ and other things to try to fix it. That way you have a great thing to work with and you're just polishing a great thing rather than trying to fix things that are wrong at the beginning. So like with your drums, your snare could sound a lot better than it's sounding, and that could just be as simple as putting some new heads on it and getting it tuned properly. Same thing with your kick drum and your toms. So I would just recommend seeing if you have a drum shop, a local drum shop, and see if they come out to do that for you and have them come out and change your heads and tune them for you. And you're going to notice, wow, I didn't know that our drum kit could sound that good. It'll just cost you a couple $100, most likely, I think is how much they charge to come out and do stuff like that. It's totally worth it because it's going to sound way better. And even if you just did that once a year, that would be great. We recommend doing it about twice a year. Really just depends how many services you have and how often you're using your drum kit. But yeah.
And really, it should be tuned a lot in between those times. So maybe have your drummer come up there when he's there and see if he'll just give him a quick overview of how to, do a quick tune on Sundays, because it might need a little bit of adjustment because as the AC and the heat go up and down throughout the week, it's going to change things.
Absolutely. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go through the course and go for each individual channel. Let's see, we're talking about consistent mixing made simple course. And go and kind of level everything out, compression, EQ, gating, anything you have added to these channels, just start over and do it fresh in a pair of headphones. And that'll help you. And then eventually work towards getting those in-ear monitors. It will make your room sound better. I know you said something about if you take the floor monitors away, you're going to struggle with coverage. The thing is, the coverage that you're getting from floor monitors is indirect coverage. It's bouncing off of a wall before it gets to the people. So even though you're getting some sound from those and maybe some fullness from those, it's not really helping the mix at all. It's going to make it worse. So do what you can to get rid of those floor wedges. We don't have any here, and we'll never have them again just because it's in a small room especially, they ruin the main mix. And that's the whole reason we're there, is to give the congregation great sound, and we don't want to ruin that for them.
There's really no good argument to have them because, they're going to hear themselves better when they have in-ear monitors.
True.
As opposed to floor wedges, so they'll be better musicians and vocalists. So, is
it a challenge to transition from floor wedges to in-ear? Sure. Absolutely. Your musicians are going to struggle for a while. It's a transition, but once the transition phase is over, you're going to be really glad that you did it. So once you get there and you make that decision, just stick with it and don't let people retreat back to the floor monitors because they'll never get there if you go backwards. So yeah. Go work on that. I want you to submit this live stream again for next month's review, and we can work on your progress. And if you get stumped on anything, remember you have access to one-on-one coaching calls with us, so be sure to schedule those and don't hesitate because we'd be happy to help. Thanks, Matt, which, by the way, your lead vocal sounded great, and that is the most important part of your mix, so you're nailing that. So I know I went through a lot, but don't be hard on yourself. Just press forward, and that's what we're all doing. We'll get better one step at a time. Let's see. This next one is from Enrico from First Baptist, and their mix is very raw. They don't know how to utilize compressor or many of the other effects to make it sound good. Let's take a listen and see what you have going on.
Oh, I choose the Jesus way. I choose surrender. I
right, so lead vocal sounding good. So you got the most important part of your mix right. But you nailed the things that you need to work on is that you don't understand compression and effects, and those are the two things that this mix is missing. So that's the reason you got access to the course. So there is a video in the course that will walk you through how to set a compressor on all of your channels. And so then it's just up to you to go and put in the work. And it looks like you got a lot of channels because you have a choir, you have some percussion going on. And so, I mean, it's going to take you some time to get compression dialed in for the first time because you have to do it on each individual channel. But you're going to be really good at it by the time you get all those channels dialed in. So go into the course, download the cheat sheets for compression. They'll give you your starting points and just get after it. And you'll bring some control to your mix so that the volume's not all over the place. The piano was too loud in this mix. Compression's not going to help that. It just needs to come down pretty significantly. One thing that I like to do when I'm struggling with getting the instrumental mix correct is I'll turn the vocals down for a bit, just take them out of the mix, and just listen to the instrumental mix, and then make my adjustments. It's cool that if the piano, you want it to kind of be the lead instrument, where it's like you have all your instruments, and then your piano is kind of like right on top and being the lead instrument. But right now, it's like way up here. It's like, here's your other instruments, and then your lead instrument's like, woo, way up here, when your lead should just be sitting right on top. Right on top. So, yeah, that's a trick that I like to use to get the instrumental mixed correctly. And you're working with a lot of instruments. You got a lot going on. So, yeah. And you need some reverb on this mix. So go through the reverb course. And just to go through it real quickly, we like to use 3 different reverbs. So we like to use a plate reverb on the vocals, a hall reverb on the vocals and the instruments, and then a room reverb on the drums. And those 3 reverbs combined really give you a nice ambience to the whole mix. Then you can add in your ambient mics if you have them, or room mics, and that would be mics that are on the stage pointed towards the congregation. Add that into the mix to pick up the ambience of the room and the response of the congregation. But I would nail the reverb first and then add in the ambient mics second. And then you're off to the races. What do you think, Dylan?
By the way, I just posted a video about that very thing.
That's true.
So be sure to go check that out. Help you get your reverb and ambience dialed in. It's mostly just like a video to give you an example of what's too much and what's too little, to give you a kind of an area to play within. And then we have other videos that teach you the technical things of how to set it up if you need help with that. But visually, I have a few suggestions. When we're looking at some of these wide shots, we've got some people that are blown out, and then we've got some people that are exposed pretty well. So I think, I don't really know what your lighting scenario looks like because I can't see it in these shots. But see if you can dial in your stage lighting to get everybody else a little more consistent. So we don't have some people that are really bright and some people that are normal. There's not really anybody that's really dark. So if you could get those people that are too bright to come down, or maybe try adjusting your camera exposures down so that we're not blowing out anybody's foreheads, I think that would help a lot. And then also be careful with your shots. You see this one we're looking at right now, we're cutting off some heads up there in the top right of the frame. So this shot either needs to zoom out a little bit or it needs to pan up. You don't want to be cutting off anybody at the head or anything like that. Even though they're kind of in the background, I think it's still, when you look up there, it doesn't look very nice for the lady that doesn't have a forehead. I think there was one more thing, but I can't remember what it was.
Well, while you think about that, I do want to mention that if I had a band this size, where I had this many mics going on and this many instruments, I would have a helper. And I'd have that helper focus on something specific. Like, I mean, I'm just thinking about compression in general. This is a lot of compression to oversee and look at on a service. So I would have an audio helper and say, hey, you just focus on compression to make sure everybody's threshold is set correctly, or, something like that. If there's one person trying to do all this, that's probably a little much on a Sunday. I would even find myself to be overwhelmed trying to manage that many inputs all by myself. And you'll find at the bigger churches that they have, it's not just one person. They have the main guy, but then they also have what's called an A2, which is either watching over the gain and the compressor. Like, they have their specific assignments so that the main audio guy can focus on the other things. So if you have the volunteer base to do that, I would recommend that you figure out how 2 of you can work together to make this work.
My other suggestion was I would X-nay the wiping transition that you have going on and just do cuts between shots. I think that would look a little bit cleaner. If you like it, that's up to you. You can go for it, but that's just my recommendation. But otherwise, you're doing a great job.
Dylan, you're getting great feedback on your reverb video that you just put out. Joseph says that was a good video on reverb, just watched it. And then Rachel says that video was so helpful. Thank you.
Good. Glad you liked it.
Way to go, Dylan. I thought it was really good, too. He sent it to me for review, and he's like, what do you think? I was like, man, you nailed it and then some. That's a great video. All right, let's move on to the next one. This one's from Nick, Community Celebration Church, wanting to see if I'm barking up the right tree for our online mix. Well, woof woof. Let's see.
Well, I had these in the wrong order, I guess. Here we go.
God of the ages, yeah, you chose to make my heart your dwelling place. You took my brokenness, showed me your glory. So I have songs of thanks, not even angels sing. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one, only you, Jesus. Who else is worthy?
I like it. You're barking up the right tree. This is a really warm mix. It's a very ambient mix. It's the right amount of ambience. That lead vocal sounds phenomenal. She's a great vocalist. I'm like, wow, listen to that. She's awesome.
She's really good.
The only thing that I wasn't real fond of is the snare sound, and I don't know if you're using a trigger or if that's just. I don't see mics on those. Did you see mics on those?
I think it's an electric kit.
It's an electric kit that looks like a real kit,
Looks like it.
which means that you can choose different snare sounds. Now, this is subjective, right? This is just personal preference. You may love the sound of that snare, and if you do, that's great. I would just, for worship music, I prefer a deeper snare that has a little more like chest punch to it. To me, that was a snappier, brighter snare, and it felt a little bit distracting, like a pow, pow, kind of like a shotgun going off or something like that. So I would go through the different sounds on your snare drum and get a more deeper sound to that, and it would fit worship songs better. My personal opinion. If you think that my opinion sucks on that, then I'm cool with that. You go with the snare that you have if that's the case. But yeah, everything else, I mean, it sounds great. You're doing great.
I would just say I would love to hear that backup vocalist a little less panned.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And with a little more reverb on her, I think it'd make her sound bigger and like
Absolutely.
there's more background vocalists.
That is a great tip. She's panned like all the way far to, I don't know if I have my headphones on correctly, if she was left or right.
You got them on backwards.
Yeah.
She's on the right.
Yeah, in live, and even in live stream setting, when you're panning, you don't want to pan anything all the way over one side or the other, unless it's very like for a specific song, you're trying to achieve some kind of special effect or something like that. But on a background vocal, that's not the case. I really wouldn't go more than like 30 or 40% whenever I'm panning a vocal. And Dylan's right on, like, if you added a bunch of reverb, hall reverb to her, because she has a very kind of like high, thin voice, it would really fill in a space in that mix that would sound really cool.
I would say don't make it sound like she's in a cathedral or anything, but make it to where you can notice that it's there just a little bit. Like just go above the blended in part of it.
I might also put like a high shelving filter on her around like probably 2 or 3 kilohertz and start carving out the high end of her to make her sound, for lack of a better term, a little bit on the muffled side. That way it's just more in this background thing going on. Because right now there's a little bit of a competition going on with the lead vocal because she has so much more presence. That background vocal has a lot more presence in that high register to her voice than the lead vocal. So it'd be easy for her, even if she's buried in the mix, to be competing with what's going on with the lead vocal. So another thing to try on that background vocal.
I'm telling you, though, with the background vocals, whether you have one or multiple, if you get that hall reverb dialed in just right, it'll sound like you got a choir up there. Sound really good.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a trick that even like Charity Gale uses, because she has, 5 vocalists, but it sounds like a big choir is with her. It's all in the reverb.
Oh, yeah.
And the unison of the vocal. Her vocals are incredible, like her background vocals.
Yeah. Oh, visually, the only thing I would recommend is to get your white balance dialed in between each camera a little bit closer. Like this one we're looking at right now is a little bit magenta looking, and the other one's looked, I wouldn't say green, but green compared to that one. So just see if you can dial in the tint or the white balance a bit, get them looking a little more married together. But otherwise, great job.
That shot right there is kind of like strange to me because you can tell they're using a wide angle lens, which makes it look like a fisheye sort of thing. Is there any solution to that other than just moving the camera further away and getting a lens that's not such a wide angle?
Not really. I mean, there are some wide angle lenses that give less of a fisheye look. It kind of just depends on which one you get. It could be a really expensive one to accomplish that too.
It's mainly just that one. Like all the other ones look good to me, but when they get to that one, I almost feel like, what just happened? Am I in a different room? Am I looking through a fishbowl? Like,
Yeah, I noticed that too. I just didn't comment on it because I could tell they're kind of just working with the space that they have to work with.
would you eliminate that shot if that were you? I mean, if you had to choose between having that versus,
I mean, it's nice to have a shot with the lead vocalist in it, for sure. I don't know, maybe just see if you can play with it a little bit to make it look a little less like a webcam is on the stage.
where is the camera? It's got to be really close.
It's got to be... He's going away from me. Around here somewhere. It's got to be around there. I don't know, maybe they're here and they can tell us.
Yeah. I mean, because if the camera is further away and it looks like that, like, what's going on?
I don't know.
Interesting. All right. Anything else on that one?
Nope.
All right. Well, we'll move on. This next one's from Ian from Three Counties Vineyard in the UK. They're just looking to improve their live stream mix.
Did we skip one?
Let's see. That was just Community Celebration Church, right?
Living Hope Methodist. Did you do that?
No, I guess not. Let's
Well.
back up a little bit. Gerald from Living Hope Methodist Church. They're looking to fix their stream quality. Their members have a little bit of a technical skill gap. So let's take a listen.
This place, and we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. Oh, oh, oh. We shout out your praise. Of the Lord today, and we won't be quiet. The raging seas, my God, He holds the victory.
All right. First thing I noticed is that there's great ambience on the drums, like great reverb on the drums, but there's not really reverb on anything else. So that's the first thing that I would fix here. Add reverb to the vocals, add reverb to the piano, but not to the bass guitar. And like we just talked about, Dylan just dropped a video on our YouTube channel that'll walk you through how to get that correct. And also in the course, obviously, there's a video on reverb for the 3 specific reverbs that you need to set up so that you can get them added into your mix. That's going to take this mix to the next level, because it's just really kind of dry right now. And one thing that we don't really talk about regarding reverb is that it covers mistakes. Well, it can amplify them too. But in general, like if you have a team that's just kind of like learning and maybe their playing is more simple, reverb can fill in those gaps. Or maybe I should say it that way. And so when you don't have the reverb, it really leaves your instruments and vocals kind of out hanging without any help.
Think about how when you sing in the bathroom,
Yeah.
you sound better.
Yeah, absolutely. It's true.
Because it sounds cooler and it's hiding some mistakes for you.
Yep. So it'll elevate your band, the sound of your band, to have reverb dialed in correctly. So that's one thing that you can do to help them. Drums sound great because they're electronic. I like the sounds that you picked on those. I think we could have used more bass guitar. I wasn't really hearing that. The piano could use a little bit of EQ. It was just sounding a little heavy in the, if I had to guess, I need to do a little frequency sweeping, but I would guess it's around 300 to 400 hertz. It sounded a little bit heavy. So I would add a PEQ filter, set the Q to 3, and then boost it about 6 dB and kind of sweep through those low mids until you find what doesn't sound good. And then once you find that area, you'll cut it out until the keyboard gets some more clarity to it. It was just a little bit heavy in those low mids, and that'll help make it shine.
You know, I didn't think about this, but there might be some people that don't really run any reverb like in the room because their room already has a lot of reverb, you know? Mm-hmm. And so they might not be running it in the live stream because of that.
Yeah.
So if that's you and you're not running any reverb in the room because you don't need it or because it's going to muddy up your mix some more, still add it to the live stream.
Absolutely. Good point.
Visually, I think you're looking good. Your white balance looks good. Your exposure looks good. Only got 2 camera angles that we're working with here, but I think for where they're placed and what you're working with, they are framed nicely and they look good. So great job with that.
Awesome. Thanks for sending that in. I think now we are at Ian with Three Counties Vineyard in UK. Okay, let's take a listen.
And
And I just want to speak the name of Jesus over fear and all anxiety. To every soul held captive by depression, I speak Jesus. I just want to speak. Oh, and I just want to speak the name of Jesus over fear and all anxiety.
All right, awesome. That's a pretty cool venue. That's admiring that. It's cool architecture.
That's cool.
Let's see. The main thing that I noticed here is that compression is way overdone on these things, and that's why, like on your lead vocal, you like all that's way too loud. Like it's distracting and kind of harsh. Whenever you overdo compression, that's the problem that you're going to have, because those noises, they're not going to be compressed when everything else is. So it lets them come through louder every time they do that. So compression, the rule on compression to get it right is you have to watch that gain reduction meter on the compressor settings screen as you're setting your threshold. And if that's going beyond -6 dB, that's when you're going to start having problems. Now, you can go a little bit further than that. Like, for example, on the kick drum and on the bass guitar, I will compress more like 9 to 12 dB because I want more control on those two instruments specifically. But when we're talking about vocals, -6 dB is kind of the cap. I don't want to go beyond that because then they start to sound smashed. Those S's start to get too harsh and we start having problems. So -6 dB is kind of just that happy place of where you get control, but not the other stuff. And so go through your compressors and fix those on your vocals, and don't compress so much. And I also heard some like the whole mix kind of sucks in whenever everybody hits all at once, and that tells me that you have a limiter on your live stream mix that is too aggressive. So you'll want to back off on your limiter as well. That's the threshold setting, and you'll just on the limiter. For an overall live stream mix, you don't want it to be hitting more than -3 dB, or that's when you're going to start noticing that it's limiting the signal. So make those adjustments. I want you to review also the videos on compression and limiting within the courses, so you get a better grasp on how those need to be set up. Download those cheat sheets. And then that's the main thing on this mix. Everything else was sounding good. It's kind of hard to hear through the over compression to see what else needed to be fixed. So I would just start there and resubmit your live stream again for next month's review, and we can work on other stuff. What do you think, Dylan?
Yeah, I think your white balance and your exposure look good. Your framing looks pretty good. And the only thing that's really sticking out to me is that the lyrics are really big at the bottom of the screen. I don't really think they need to be that big. And I really don't think you really even need the background behind it, because your shots are so bright that white text is going to have a hard time showing up, and you also have a stroke around the letters, which would help it stand out some more. So if I were you, I would see if you can remove that background. I imagine you can, because you have a transparency on it, so you should have the ability to just remove that completely. And I think that would clean up the shot quite a bit. So see if you can make the text smaller and remove the background, and see how that looks. I think it'll still show up just fine.
I want to say this is the second stream that I've seen a kid on the drums, which I absolutely love to see that kids are getting involved on the worship team, and they're doing a great job too. It's awesome.
A lot of electric kids too, I'm noticing.
Yeah.
It's like all it's been today, it seems like.
That's so awesome. Hey, you might want to also get your keyboard player some different headphones. I noticed that he's kind of just using some old school over-the-ear headphones. Getting him some even cheaper in-ears. We've had good success with the MEE. I'm blanking out on what the rest of the...
Just MEE audio, I think.
MEE audio. You can find them on Amazon. They have different options and different prices, but the ones that are about $100 work great. They're not the best, but they'd be better than what he's working with there. It's going to give him a better sound, and they'll also disappear so people don't know that he's wearing headphones. So I'd recommend investing in those. It's worth. No, they're not even $100. They're
well,
like
the nicer versions are.
Okay.
We've used the ones that are like between $40 and $50, and you have to replace those every year or two because they wear out. But the ones that are $100 and up, I think they like start at $100, and that's the one driver version, and then you can get more drivers in it. Those have lasted pretty well. So if you can swing for the ones that are $100, I would go for those.
Awesome.
Are you looking them up right now?
Yeah, I'm looking them up to see what the options are. The M6 are the ones that are cheaper. They're like $40, and they'll get the job done, but you're going to replace them pretty often. We like to have those on hand for like guest musicians or stuff like that, because obviously you don't want to share earbuds, and you don't want to throw away a $100 pair of earbuds. So $40 is, you don't want to throw away $40 either, but you get to send them home with a nice gift. Here's just some nice headphones.
Or we'll have one around and we just have a bunch of extra tips. So if someone forgets theirs, they can just pop the old tips off and put some new ones on our backup pair.
The Mi Audio Professional is what it's called, and they have different options, and you can go and look at those. But yeah, they range from $100 to like $300 or $400, I think.
Which our drummer has the one with 3 or 4 drivers, I think, and he says he really likes them. I think Beth, she's a vocalist, she has 3 drivers. And our bass guitar player has the dual driver, which I think is 4 bass guitars. So it'll kind of tell you what each one is for, and it sounds like it's worth it. I haven't personally tested them out because I have custom molded in-ears, but they seem like they like them. So
Awesome.
And they have an option where you can go to MEE's website and you can order tips that are custom molded.
Well, that's sweet.
So you'd go to an audiologist and they would make a mold of your ear, and then you would send that mold to MEE and they would send you some custom molded tips.
Which, when you're on the stage every week, that's really handy to have.
I think it's kind of a cool way to do custom molds too, because mine are like the whole in-ear is the custom mold. And if I wanted to get replacements, I'd have to, or get them repaired, I have to send the whole thing in, and they have to take it apart and repair them. But if you have the tips and you want to upgrade to the nicer versions of those in-ears later on, you just take your nice custom molded tips and put them on a new set. So that's pretty cool.
Sounds like a great Christmas gift for your musicians and vocalists.
Yeah, I think the tips are like $100, $150, so they're not cheap, but I think that's a pretty good deal for what you get out of it, because it's going to be a really nice seal compared to just, the universal tips.
I think you're the only one that has custom molded tips on the stage. I've tried to talk Beth into, and my wife, several times, but she's like, I'm fine. It's like, well, you probably really like them.
It's really nice. I never lose the seal on my ears.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool.
All right. Well, shall we keep going?
Yeah.
David Froman from Holt Baptist Church. They've had issues not hearing the guitar well, and then when they did hear it, it was distorted. They've added some reverb from the classes to the instruments as well as to the vocals. So let's take a listen.
So this is Holt Baptist?
Yep.
Okay.
The Spirit guarantees our hope until redemption's done. Until we join in endless praise to God the three in one. To the praise of your glory, to the praise of your mercy.
All right. Thanks for sending that in. Let's see. You're talking about the guitar. For some reason, I had electric guitar in my mind, but you must have been talking about the acoustic guitar. And we've talked about this. This is a pretty common problem, is to not get a great sound from your acoustic guitar. And the reason for that being is the pickup, which is the microphone that's on the inside of the guitar that comes stock, is not great. It doesn't sound good. And so then you're fighting at the mixer to try to make something that doesn't sound good. And you just never quite get there. So this is one of the few situations where we recommend getting better equipment. So with the acoustic guitar, they can keep their guitar. They just need a better pickup on the inside of the guitar. So the one that we recommend is LR Bags. And you can buy that at Sweetwater. And if you're comfortable putting it in, you can. Most people aren't. So you take it to what's called a luthier. And so you could just Google and find one that's close to you, and you take your guitar and the pickup to them and say, put this pickup in my guitar, and they would do it for you for a couple $100 or something like that. And then your guitar will sound awesome. And we have a video on that. So if you go search our channel for LR Bags, you would find that video, and you'll be able to hear the difference between a guitar that has it and a guitar that doesn't. And it's just like mind-blowing how different it is. So do that for your acoustic guitarist, because his guitars, it's not sounding good. And it's not that he's not a good player. It's not that he doesn't have a great guitar. It's that he doesn't have a great pickup. And that's going to make a huge difference in your mix. I also noticed that you need some compression on your mix. So that would be the next place I would send you, is to go through the compression videos in the course and go through and add compression on each individual channel, because everything was just kind of like jumping in and out and fighting with each other. And the reason for that is compression needs to be added to narrow the dynamic range of each of these instruments and vocals and help them to work well together. So go do that next, and then resubmit your live stream, and then we can do the next step after that.
I'd say we also need something else, something to be giving us some low frequencies in here.
Yeah, maybe if you have a low cut filter on the piano, which is something that I recommend in the course. The reason I recommend that is because usually you have a bass guitar that's filling in that low frequency, and I don't want the piano to compete with it. But in this case, you don't have a bass guitar, so you can just take the low cut filter off of the piano, and the piano will fill in those low frequencies.
And since you have two pianos, make sure one of them is playing down lower and one's playing up higher, so they can kind of handle different parts of the spectrum.
For sure.
Visually, I was going to say I'm not a big fan of how many lines of text you have for your lyrics, but I see that your congregation might be a little bit on the older side, and I feel like from experience they kind of prefer that. They want to be able to see more at a time. So I'm not going to make a comment on that. I usually recommend 2 lines tops because it just makes it a lot easier to see where you're at, and it looks cleaner on in person and online. So consider that. If it's working for you and your congregation, then just disregard that. But the other thing is I notice your camera is not completely level. It's really close, but it's just skewed a little bit. So see if you can level that out. You can use the horizontal line of the cross to kind of give you a reference. But I would do that. That would help it out a lot.
Awesome. Charles is asking if he can drop his live stream. This is something that we do for our students, Charles. So if you want to get in on the next live stream review, visit the link in the description, become one of our students, get access to our courses, get access to live stream reviews, and get access to one-on-one support where we'll help you out and over the phone. So yeah, link in the description for that. And I see that we also have a comment from Anti-Geek, and talking about you don't know what pickup he's using, you don't know what sound it is, and that you should work on EQ first. And I appreciate the comment, but I'd have to strongly disagree with that because I've worked with so many acoustic guitars and we've seen so many live stream reviews that it's just a common problem that the pickup that comes in guitars is going to suck. We haven't had, I don't think we've come across one guitar where the stock pickup, we were like, wow, that sounds awesome. We're always like, go put the LR bags in it. And once you've heard the LR bags and once you've changed, I mean, it's like a night and day difference. We're not talking about like a marginal improvement. This is like a drastic improvement. It's hard to explain even.
Now, if they can't do that, what can they do to at least improve it a little bit?
Go get the LR bags. Go work an extra job and get a few $100s to go buy the LR bags because it's going to make that big of a difference. And it's weird for me to say that because it's very rare that I'll be like, go spend money on equipment to fix this problem. But in this case, I'm like, go spend the money to fix this problem because you won't regret it. But in the meantime, I guess if you want to do something a little bit better, something to fix it, then you can just carve out the low mids out of the acoustic guitar and only leave that upper spectrum to where all you're kind of getting is the rhythmic part of the guitar. We've done this in the past before we had the LR bags. It kind of sucks looking back to it because you don't get the body and the warmth of the guitar because you're cutting it all out to just get rid of the frequencies and the sound that you don't like. But I guess it's the best option if you don't have the LR bags yet. So put a low shelving filter at about 900 hertz and you're going to drop that sucker about 6 dB and carve out all of those low mids, and hopefully you have other instruments in the mix that are filling in those low mids, and then you can just let your acoustic guitar kind of be, we've called it a glorified shaker, because all you're getting is the rhythmic part, which is the main part that you want in most songs from the acoustic guitar. Unless they're by themselves, then you want the full spectrum of their sound. But anyway, work on that LR bags, take up an offering, do something. It's worth it.
For funsies, I'm going to show a video I made where I was testing this plug-in on the Behringer wing that enhances any acoustic guitar, which if you have a wing and you have an acoustic guitar that doesn't sound great, go ahead and throw that on and see if it helps, around 50%. But let me just show you an audio example of my guitar with the LR bags, and then our other acoustic guitarist, he has a Martin 0018, and he has the K&K Pure Mini, which is another pretty popular option, and it's a little less invasive of a pickup. I think out of the box, it doesn't sound as good as the LR bags, but with some EQ, we've gotten it to sound really good. Nice. I actually really like his pickup in his guitar. So that's another thing to consider. It just has three little dots that glue on the underside of the bridge of your guitar. The LR bags has to drill underneath the saddle, which is why we don't recommend doing that yourself. So if you want a less invasive option, you could consider it. But let me just show you that real quick. So this is my guitar with the LR bags. You see me turning this effect on and off.
does make it sound better. I mean, it gives it more warmth and takes away a little bit of the junk in the low mids.
So even a good pickup can be enhanced by, which is cool. And then here's his with the K&K Pure Mini.
Wow. So I guess, though, if you don't have the wing, you can go pick up that pedal, right? Is that an actual pedal that you can buy?
That pedal, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You can kind of see here, there's a lot of low carving going on with his K&K Pure Mini.
Yeah, I can see that.
But once I got that kind of dialed in, you can see it sounds really good. It's very clean. I was impressed by that.
Nice.
All right. Well, that side tangent over.
Or is it? By the way, we are not even sponsored by LR Bags, and we do not even earn affiliate income from LR Bags. Maybe we should reach out to them and be like, we talk about you guys all the time.
Well, we need to put a Sweetwater affiliate link in the videos, apparently.
We love them that much. So.
I will just say one more thing. They have a cheaper version of the Anthem. It's called the Anthem SL, and it just it kind of X-nays a couple of features that really you don't necessarily need, and it's $100 cheaper. So you miss the ability to mix in how much of the microphone there is. It just kind of has a preset mix, but it's going to sound really good. And then you lose your phase switch. So the full-size version, you can flip the phase from your guitar to help with feedback and such. Not super important because you can do that at the mixer anyway. So
awesome.
There you go.
I think we've got about 4 more minutes here, so let's see if we can get through a couple more.
Okay.
This next one's from Zoe, the Cross Church of Norman. Like Norman, Oklahoma, you are neighbors? That's awesome. Balancing all instruments and then balancing voices to the instruments and EQ the voices is what they want us to listen for specifically. So, as Dylan gets that pulled up, you ready to go?
Yeah, I just noticed that I don't think the volume was up for that demo I just did.
Well, that's helpful.
I'll do it one more time at the end real quick. All right, ready? Let's see. Gotta find some music.
We'll do it again. For your promises, yes and amen. You will do great things. God, you do great things. Oh, hero of heaven, you conquered the grave. You free every captive and break every chain. Oh, God, you have done great things. We dance in your freedom, awaken the light. Oh, Jesus, our Savior, your name lifted high. Oh, God, you will do great things.
All right. That acoustic guitar is sounding good. Let's see. We need some reverb on the vocals. That will make a big difference with them. They could also be thinned out just a little bit to bring a little more clarity to them. They're a little heavy in the low mids. So make sure you have your low cut filter at about 180 hertz, and then you can use a low shelving filter at 800 hertz and just drop it down 1 dB. I mean, we're just talking little adjustments and thin those out until they still have warmth, but they're a little more clear than they are right now. And then you add your reverb in, those vocals are really going to shine. I was also noticing with the drums, you're using an electronic kit, and the cymbals are way too loud compared to everything else in that kit. And if you go to the head unit on those drums, you'll be able to balance the volume between all the different drums. The volume of the snare, the volume of the toms, the volume of the cymbals. So the volume of the cymbals needs to come way down, especially that hi-hat that was at the beginning was way too much. The crashes are still too much, but we need more of the kick drum and the snare. So the balance between the cymbals and everything else is way off. We need to the cymbals are currently louder than everything else, and they need to be on a little bit quieter than everything else. And so make those adjustments on your drums, and you're going to get a lot better drum mix and a lot more energy out of the song. Those two things are going to make a huge difference in this mix. You got a good thing going.
My only recommendation visually is to see if you can figure out how you can isolate what's making that camera shake every now and then. Maybe someone's kicking it, or maybe it's a really big kick drum hit or something. I'm just not a big fan of camera shake, and we've had problems with that in the past. So see if you can just dive in and figure out how to keep that from happening. Because I think it's distracting to be watching, and then you see.
You know what cracks me up is when you're watching something from the White House and it's like President Trump on the camera and the camera's shaking. It's like, what is going on here? They can't hear that. They can't. Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, it does happen.
Even with our nice little camera pole we have, it still will transmit some vibration if someone hits it directly. So if there's a kid down there messing with it, you got to go down there and be like, hey, Quit touching that.
All right, let's dive into one more, and then we'll be done for this round. This one's from Timothy, Hosanna, House of Prayer. And so let's just take a listen to this.
Oh, hold on. You didn't send me any direct ones. There's one for 3 days ago.
At least you'll get the most recent.
பாடுவோம் அல்லேலூயா உங்கள் நாமம் உயரணும் இன்று மேன்மை அடையணும் பாடுவோம் அல்லேலூயா ஹalleluya hallelujah.
All right. Thanks for sending this in. The main thing that I noticed is that in this case, the vocal actually doesn't sound warm enough. So we've kind of been tackling the other end of the spectrum where the vocals need some clarity. In this case, it's a little bit overdone. And so I need some warmth, especially on a male vocal. You're kind of expecting to hear more warmth in that. So go ahead and look at your EQ on these vocal mics, and maybe your low cut filter is a little bit too high. It should be somewhere around 180 hertz. But if 180 hertz sounds too thin, you can definitely back it off, closer to 150 hertz. And if you're carving off anywhere in like 200 to 300 hertz range, go ahead and bring that back up. And that's usually where the warmth of a male vocal is around the 200 hertz range. So look at that, bring some warmth back into those vocals. And regarding the vocal mix, they were kind of all the same level. So the lead vocal was fighting a little bit with the background vocals because they weren't singing exactly the same. And so one way you can kind of hide, when that happens, and really you want to do this anyway, is position your background vocals lower than the lead vocal. Make sure your lead vocal is enough louder that the background vocals sound like background vocals, because right now it just sounds like everybody's in the foreground and fighting with each other. So you'll bring those background vocals down quite a bit in this mix. And one way I like to say it is think of your background vocals as part of the instrumental mix. So you're just kind of blending them in with what you have going on with the instruments, and then you're putting your lead vocal on top of everything. And that'll work out well for you. What do you think, Dylan?
Okay, so just a couple of things. It looks like you're a little overexposed when we look at his white shirt. It's blown out. So see if you can drop the exposure on all of your cameras that are blown out with white. And then there was a shot a second ago on a keyboard. And I think considering you don't have a lot of shots that you're working with, I would like to see, instead of just a piano, I would like to see the person playing the piano. So I would save those close-up abstract shots for when you have quite a few shots showing people. So since you're only working with 3 or 4 cameras, I would just recommend you show either the piano player or maybe a couple of the people on the stage, just to make it feel a little bit more personal. And then I would also recommend you switch your camera angles a little bit more often. I feel like we're staying on our lead singer there for a little bit too long, especially considering that you have multiple to work with. But other than that, doing a great job. Just a few recommendations to step it up.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody, for sending these in. If you are watching now and you want to get your live stream reviewed, this is something that we do for our students and our partners, and we would love for you to partner with us, and it's $35 a month, and what that gets you is access to all of our courses, all of our cheat sheets, one-on-one support where we get on the phone with you and walk you through anything that you're having a problem with. You'll get future courses and updates, like it's all just going to be added to your account, and you're also helping us equip churches worldwide, because something that we do for churches who are in developing nations is we give them access to all of the same stuff for free, so that all churches can be sounding great. And our whole mission here at Collaborate Worship is just to help churches sound great so that nothing hinders the gospel. We don't want sound getting in the way of what we're doing to introduce people to Jesus Christ. And so that's what we're all about. When you partner with us, you help us to do that. There's also a worship team upgrade where not only do you get sound training, but you get instrumental training, and everybody gets their own account and they can go in and access this training so that it sounds good on the stage and it sounds good from the mixer. So be sure to check that out. All of this is accessible using the link in the description. We would love to have you as part of the great sound collaboration going on here. You'll be joining more than 15,000 students from 8,700 different churches in 53 different countries, and it's really an honor. We've been at this for, I think, 15 years now, and so it's grown over time. Had no idea that it would have this big of an impact across the entire world, but we're so grateful that the Lord, chose us to do this, and we're grateful to help you guys. So jump in. We can help each other. It'll be awesome. Anything else? Any closing words from Dylan?
No, but I was going to ask Paul, did you happen to turn that video up for me whenever I was playing the acoustic guitar pickups? Okay, so they heard it. So
Way to go, Paul.
Thanks, man.
Save the day. Awesome. All right. Well, y'all, until next time, we do these once a month, so we will see you again soon. But we won't see you until after the New Year. So Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Don't stress out this Christmas. Just relax, and everything will be great. We'll see you again soon.
See ya.
Bye.